Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I would say the number one question that you guys ask me the most in the comments down below or via email when you guys reach out to me is the majority of people want to know, hey, I'm starting from $0 or I have a negative net worth. I have very little information on financial literacy. My parents didn't teach me anything. School didn't teach me anything. Where do I start? What are the steps I follow? So in today's video, what I want to do is I want to break down the 5 steps that I personally followed. This is literally exactly what I did, one for one, to get in control of my finances. So I'm speaking from, experience here, right? This is everything I did. And this is what I would recommend to you guys if you were starting from zero or if you had a negative net worth. Now, this is not financial advice. This is just what I did that helped me get in control of my finances. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's go ahead. Let's get into the first step. Okay, so step number 1 is education. And I know that sounds boring, but before you click off the video thinking I'm about to tell you to go take some courses or study for the next 6 months on how to become a financial expert, that is not what I mean, because this step should not turn into education paralysis, right? All you need to do at first is educate yourself on the most basic financial fundamentals, right? The most important things like saving money, budgeting, understanding where your money is going, and how to actually keep more of the money you make. So in this step, I would not even worry about investing, trading stocks, thinking about, how can I grow my money overnight? Because assuming you're actually starting from $0 or maybe even starting, with a negative net worth, your first, kind of mindset and goal should not be, okay, how much money can I invest in the stock market? It should be, how can I not stay at $0, right? How can I go from $0 to $100, $100 to $1,000? And all of that is going to get so much easier if you understand the basics, right? How do you save money? How do you budget? How much money do you actually need to survive every single month? Where exactly are you overspending? What financial habits are keeping you stuck where you're at? That should be the stuff that you're learning first. The other part of education that's extremely important to understand is understanding how you learn the best, right? You know yourself better than I do, but I can at least tell you what worked for me. And for me, it was watching videos on YouTube, right? I probably spent 2 to 3 weeks maybe watching videos on saving and budgeting ideas and basic personal finance videos until I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I feel comfortable enough with this topic. Now I'm ready to start. And for some of you, it might be YouTube videos as well. For others, it might be, reading a few books. Maybe it's listening to podcasts. Maybe it's watching a documentary. Maybe it's finding that, one person online who explains money in a way that actually makes sense to you. But as I mentioned before, most beginner financial education is pretty repetitive, right? Like once you understand the basics of saving and budgeting, you're probably not going to learn some life-changing new financial concept from watching your 25th video on how to budget. So at some point, you will have enough information to start. And you're just trying to understand the basics enough so you can start making a little bit of better decisions with your money. The second step is planning. This is where you're going to take everything that you just educated yourself on and you're going to actually apply it to your own life by creating yourself some type of basic financial plan. Because, it's one thing to watch videos about saving or budgeting or read books, but at some point, you're going to actually have to look at your own numbers and say, okay, where am I really at with my finances, right? So these could be questions very simple. How much money do I make? How much money do I spend? Do I have debt? Do I have anything saved? Or am I actually just straight up broke and I'm just spending money like an idiot, right? And this is the part that a lot of people tend to avoid. A lot of people don't like making financial plans because it really forces you to be honest with yourself. If you're starting from zero, right, you definitely do not need a crazy detailed plan. You don't need anything, longer than a page, right? You just need a basic game plan that is going to tell you where and what your next move is financially. And for most people, I think the first part of your plan should be figuring out where your money is going. Simply just look at your bills, your subscriptions, your car payment, your insurance, going out, random Amazon purchases, whatever it is. Because a lot of people think they have an income problem, and some people definitely do, but a lot of people also have no idea that they could easily have a spending issue. So before you start, talking about financial freedom, you need to know what is actually happening with the money you already have coming in or that you have sitting in your bank account. And then from there, I would make a basic budget. And when I say budget, I don't mean you have to become, an extremely frugal person and never live life again and just lock yourself inside. But you definitely need some type of system, whether that's money coming in, your bills get paid, then you take a little bit, of that, you fund your savings, you take a little bit of that, you attack some of your debt, and then whatever is left, you can freely spend. That's really all it is, right? And your plan should match your situation. So, for example, if you're in a situation where you have a lot of high interest debt, maybe your plan prioritizes paying down your high interest debt. If you're in a situation where you have no emergency fund, maybe your plan focuses on prioritizing saving your first $500, dollars or $1,000. If you make decent money, but you have nothing to show for it, maybe your plan prioritizes, cutting some of that spending. And if you're not making enough money, then maybe your plan might be figuring out how to increase your income. The biggest thing is just making your plan realistic. Do not make some insane plan that you're going to tell yourself, all right, I'm going to save 90% of my income. I'm never going to eat out again. And I'm going to have a $100,000 net worth in 3 months, because more than likely that plan is going to fall apart in about 2 days. Start with something you can actually follow, right? Maybe tracking your spending for 1 month, saving your first $500, paying off the credit card, whatever it might be. The plan just needs to give you some type of financial direction, right? So figure out where you are, decide what problem needs to be fixed first, and then create a simple plan that you can actually stick to and follow. Step number 3 is going to be taking action. This is where you actually have to start doing and following through with the things that you just educated yourself on and the things that you plan for. Because look, it's very easy to watch videos, make a budget, write down some goals, and just feel like you're going to make progress. But none of that really matters if your habits are staying exactly the same, especially with your finances. At some point, you're going to have to take action and actually start. So that is going to mean following through with your plan. And I know none of this probably sounds exciting, right? You probably already clicked off the video, but that's kind of the point. A lot of personal finance is not some crazy secret that only rich people know. Most of the time, getting personal finance, educated and becoming financially literate is just doing extremely basic things consistently enough that your situation starts to change. If you are starting from $0, your first goal is not going to become, how many dollars can I invest in the stock market overnight? It's going to be, how can I stop making my current situation worse? And the first way to do that is to educate, then plan, and then act. Because once you stop that bleeding, from there you can actually start building your finances. This is the step where you have to stop waiting for motivation and you just have to take action and do it. And look, you are not going to do this perfectly. When I first started, I still mess up with my finances every single day, right? There's going to be a week where you probably overspend, or you probably, stray away from your budget, or you might forget to track your spending on that random, Wednesday night. But that one mistake or even multiple mistakes are not going to ruin your progress at all. It's going to happen. What's actually going to ruin your progress is messing up once and then using that as an excuse to quit completely on your financial journey. So if you mess up, just get back on track. Do not turn one bad weekend into a bad month. Do not turn one bad month into another year of doing the same thing and falling into the same financial habits. Because, the action step is where things are going to actually start changing. Things change when you actually take that action and your behavior changes. So with step 3, you need to, take the plan you made and start doing the boring stuff. Save the money, pay off your debt, track the spending, cut the dumb purchases, make better decisions even when you don't feel like it. That's how you're going to start building momentum. And that's going to lead us into step number 4, which is tracking. And this is the step that I think a lot of people either just really overcomplicate or they completely ignore it. Because once you start taking action off of your plan, off of the education you learned, you need some way to know if what you're doing is actually working. And you don't need to track 47 different numbers or download a whole bunch of budgeting apps or pay for services, but you should at least know if you're moving in the right direction. And at the very beginning, I would keep this super simple, and still to this day, I keep this extremely simple, right? You could track your income, track your spending, track your savings, see if your debt went up or down, and that's pretty much it. Because if you're starting from 0, you don't need some crazy financial dashboard. You just need to know, did I spend less than I made this month? Did I save any money? Did my debt go up? Did it go down? Am I doing better financially than I was last month? those are really the only questions that matter early on in this journey, because tracking is going to remove that guesswork and it's going to show you what's actually happening. And like I mentioned prior, this does not have to be complicated. To this day, the way I track my finances is once a month, I track my net worth. You can see one of my videos right here on the screen, and every single month at the end of the month, I track my net worth. And for me, I think this is the easiest way to do it because I'm only doing it once a month. It's not super stressful, and it's just very easy to see if I'm trending in the right direction or if I'm trending in the wrong direction with my finances, right? I look at basically what came in, what went out, how much has my savings grown, how much has my debt gone up or down, and then at the end of the day, I get my net worth number, and if it's up from last month, I'm doing good. If it's down from last month, maybe there's things I got to tighten up. And for you, maybe it's realizing you're spending too much money on eating out, or maybe it's realizing you have a lot of subscriptions that you forgot about, or you see that you're actually on pace to save more money than you thought. And this is why tracking actually matters, because it's going to give you feedback before things go too far off the deep end and you're like, oh, how did this get there? And it also helps you build confidence, because when you actually see your numbers improving, even if it's super slow, it makes the whole thing just way more rewarding, and it just feels so much better. Seeing your savings go from $0 to 250 to 500 to 1,000, to the average person, it might not sound crazy, but when you're building it and you're the one doing it, it feels like living proof that everything's actually working. And same thing with debt. When you're watching that balance go down every single month, it might be boring to everyone else, but to you, it's like, man, I'm actually taking control of my life and getting things going in the right direction. So don't make tracking harder than it needs to be. Make it simple, whatever works for you. Just track it to a certain extent. That way you know if you're actually going in the right direction or if you're stalling out, or worse, going in the wrong direction. And that leads us into the last step, which is reflection, right? This is the part where you actually take a step back and you look at what's been working and what has not been working. Because the first plan you make is probably not going to be perfect, right? You're going to maybe, think you need to save a certain amount of money, and then you're going to realize, okay, that wasn't super realistic. Or you might think, all right, my biggest issue is spending money on food. And then you start, taking action, you start tracking, and then you realize, oh, it's actually my car payment, or it's this one credit card that I can't seem to pay off, right? And that's completely fine. The point is not to get everything perfect on your first try. It's just to actually pay attention and adjust instead of repeating the same mistakes every single month. This is why tracking and reflection kind of go together, because, tracking is going to show you how you're trending, whether it's up or down, but reflection is going to help you understand what those numbers actually mean and what needs to change. So, for example, maybe at the end of the month, you look at your budget and you realize, hey, you know what? I saved some money, but I made it way harder than it needed to be because my plan was a little too strict. Okay, well, maybe at that point, after you do that reflection, you go back and you change your plan. The whole point of this is that this whole process is a cycle. At the beginning, you educate yourself, you plan, you make your plan, you take action, you start tracking your actions, and then you reflect. And maybe once you reflect, you realize, hey, some things need to change in my plan. So you go back to your plan, change your plan, you continue to take action, you continue to track, and then you reflect again. And you complete this process over and over and over again until you get to something that is either, flowing perfectly for you and really increasing your finances, or you get to something that just feels comfortable and you're able to kind of steadily increase your financial freedom. Because a lot of the times, if you make a budget where you have zero room for anything fun, you're probably going to break it. If you say you're going to save half your income, but your bills are already too high, you're probably going to set yourself up to fail. And that, I'm not saying this to kind of make excuses. I'm just saying, like, you need to build a plan you can actually follow. And reflection is where you ask yourself, hey, what's been working? What hasn't been working? What do I need to change? Maybe you need to lower your savings goal for now and you need to focus more on debt. Maybe you need to cut a certain bill out. Maybe you need to make a little bit more money. Maybe you need to stop hanging around certain people who make it impossible to save. Or maybe you need to automate your savings because when money sits in your checking account, you just completely spend it. And that's the point of this step of reflection. You're not just tracking numbers to track numbers. You're using those numbers to make better decisions and build upon your original plan. And that's what makes this whole process sustainable, right? You learn, you make a plan, you take action, you track it, and then you reflect and adjust and then you do it again. So to wrap up this video, right? If you're watching this video and you're starting from $0 or you even starting below $0, this is the way I would look at it. And you do not need to overcomplicate this. Start with education, learn the basics of saving, budgeting, debt, how money actually works, right? Don't do this forever, not to the point where you never start, but just enough to understand what you're doing. Then you make a plan, you look at your real numbers, you figure out what problems need to be fixed first, and just give your money some type of direction. Then take action, because watching videos and making plans might feel productive, but at the end of the day, it's really not. You actually have to change what you're doing, and then you track it. Know what's coming in, know what's going out, whether you're trending up, whether you're trending down. Is your savings growing? Is your debt growing? Are you paying your debt down? Is your savings dwindling? Whatever it might be. And then you reflect and adjust. Look at what worked, look at what didn't work, and change the plan if you need to. And just continue that cycle over and over and over again. Education, planning, action, tracking, and reflection. And the biggest thing I want you to take away from this video is that financial freedom does not have to start when you have a bunch of money. It starts when you decide you are done moving through life with no financial plan. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope this is going to give you some type of direction to actually get your financial freedom journey started. I appreciate you guys for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.